Hey, who's here? Hey, Fancy Lou Who, how are you? How goes it? Who else is with me tonight? Bet you are, baby girl. I'd be tired of it by now, too. I've been watching all these videos over on TikTok of people in your area and Louisiana both that it's being flooded, all these farms and stuff. It's crazy. If you are having a hard time finding the chat button, just tap on the video and just tap once and it should pop up. I'm tired of working. I want to retire. But then I've been trying to retire since I was 25 years old, so figured Miss Shirley be on by now. She was ready and rearing to go. Let's see. There's somebody new that was going to watch this tonight. Somebody, Christy, somebody maybe. I saw. This book looks really good. You know me, I love Sharice Carter. I know, I can't get them to pop up. Do my little thing. Okay. If turn it down or I'm gonna blast this off. See my video? Tap on it once, and then there's the chat button. So try that and see if you can find the chat. If you're on a computer, I don't know what to tell you. Talked to Dana for a little bit. She's out walking. Her and Marty's been walking like 2 hours a day. Wear me out just thinking about it. So I need to be out walking. I'm not complaining about the weather at all because it's like perfect here right now. They ought to start pouring in now. Weather's been 80 or under. It's been overcast. It's been sunny, but it has its moments. Hey, Samantha, how are you? Oh my gosh. I'm fangirling. Oh my gosh. I love your Trident Security series. I'm fangirling. Yes. I wanted you in my birthday month just for those. But then you go and you do another one and you do cowboys. And I'm like, okay, I can do a cowboy. I can really do it, Cowboys. Because they next door to country boys, and I know all about them country boys. Chapter 4. I can do that. Start wherever you want me to start, ma'am. I can do that. Yep, I'm all excited about this. I've been waiting for this for over a month now. I couldn't believe you said yes when Vincy asked you if you'd. Oh, okay. Oh, during the day, I listen to audiobooks, and I got, I'm not sure if I found it on Audible or Chirp, but I found your Trident series, security series on there. And I got obsessed with them right off the bat. Right off the bat. And I listened to all of them, and I even went onto your website. I've been playing the crossword game. I still got to go back and look up some answers though, because I don't remember all that stuff. But yeah, I've been like reading all of them. Now the ones that are not on audio yet, I have been trying to read when I can. But doing this gig and some other stuff, it's hard to get in there. Hey, Rhonda, how are you? Welcome to the Crazy House. Anyone else that's on here and you can't find your chat button if you're watching on your phone, when you go to YouTube and you see the video and the video's playing, just tap. Well, we'll get out of that. So there we go. All right. Just tap and it'll bring up. But just tap it one time and it will bring up the chat button. Took us forever to figure out how to get that done. Just kind of dragging my feet on those so that I can listen to the rest of them, because I just seem to listen to them, and that gives me a chance to listen to something really good while I work, and then also I can read other books at night. So now will is it JB? Will she be here tonight? No. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about me. Everybody kind of forgets about me every now and then. And I feel all lonesome. We have a lot of fun over here, Rhonda. A lot of fun. I'm so grateful. So my new obsession is TikTok right now. I discovered it a few weeks ago and I have become obsessed with it. And I can't put it down. I'm slow on these new platforms when they come up. And so it's kind of dragging my feet, because I thought it was just for the younger kids. And then I kept seeing stuff. And I thought, no, I'll just go over there and see what it's about. My neighbor posted something about the rooster in my yard, and then I get over there and I see a whole lot more cocks besides roosters. So I got a little bit obsessed. And then today I actually put my first TikTok on there, and it had nothing to do with books and everything to do with uh, dirty stuff. So go check it out if you get a chance. I've been blowing up my chat with Vincy and Nina for 3 weeks now with stuff that's funny or sexy or interesting, and I'm gonna have to make a book nook one though, so that I can start sharing some books and stuff. Alrighty, it's times to get started. I guess everybody's gonna be here that's here. So, all right. So I'm reading Wannabe in Wyoming, and I'm gonna start on chapter 4 per the request of Miss Samantha. So June 1st, and this is a letter that she's written. Dear any soldier, hi, my name is Willow, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you for your service. It's very much appreciated. It must be hard on you being away from your family and friends for long periods of time. I hope this letter brightens your day. I'm probably not supposed to ask where you're stationed or deployed, so I won't. I'll just assume you're somewhere on the other side of the world and pray you're safe. I guess I should tell you a little about myself. I'm 33 years old and originally from Philadelphia. While I'd lived my entire life until 3 weeks where I'd lived my entire life until 3 weeks ago. That's when I found out I'd inherited a ranch in Wyoming, of all places. Talk about a culture shock. This little podunk town has a population of just under 1,000 people, and everyone seems to know everyone else. I probably had that many people living within a 2 block radius of me back in Philly, and no one knew who any of their neighbors were, beyond nodding hello as they passed each other on the street. I've spent the last few weeks doing an overhaul of the house here. It really needed it. I'd been hoping all it would need was a fresh coat of paint, but that turned out to be the least of my worries. The front porch needed major work. All new steps and most of the boards needed to be replaced. Thankfully, the supports were in good shape, so the whole thing didn't need to be torn down. I even managed to save the old porch swing, sanding and refinishing it. I think I'll rehang it on the side porch though. It faces west, and get another one for the back porch. The painters come in a few days to repaint the house. The painters come in a few days to repaint the outside of the house. I picked a light green color. I think it'll look nice against the blue sky. I also tackled the kitchen and 2 bathrooms and had a plumber and an electrician come in and update what needed to be. While there's still a lot to do in the 3 rooms, at least I can now say every surface has been bleached and disinfected. The water is clean. The plugs are updated for the new appliances I ordered. Now I'm moving on to the rest of the house. Every room needs, at the very least, to be painted and new furniture and rugs. With the help of some local guys, I got rid of the old, very outdated furniture. Think of the 1970s if you need a visual. Junk that was lying around and anything else I didn't want to keep. There are a bunch of boxes and trunks left, mostly filled with papers and stuff, but I put them in the attic until I have more time to devote to going through them. Thank goodness I also now have satellite internet and TV access. It was really quiet here without them for the first 2 days. I'm learning a lot about living in the country thanks to Google. Tomorrow I'm going to do the craziest thing. Well, at least the craziest thing I've ever done besides leaving Pennsylvania to move to Wyoming where I know absolutely no one. I'm going to buy some chickens. Me, the tattooed pink-haired chick from Philly, is going to get, well, some chicks. LOL. Two of the guys who helped me clear out the house came by yesterday and fixed up the coop in the backyard for me and put up some new fencing around it. The other night, I spent 3 hours researching chickens, from which ones to get and what to feed them, to how to collect their eggs and know when there's something wrong with them, just in case. There's a local vet who deals with farm animals, so at least there's someone nearby who I can consult with. I was surprised to learn you don't need a rooster for the hens to lay eggs. You only need one if you want baby chicks. I'll do without the rooster for now. I must be crazy. Well, the last paragraph probably confirmed that, but I'm actually thinking about keeping the ranch. At first, I was seriously thinking of fixing it up to sell, but the longer I stay here, the more I like living out in the middle of nowhere. Weird, huh? There's really no reason for me to go back to Philly other than it's familiar. People move all the time and start over in new places. So why can't I? The only thing is I'll need to figure out what to do with all this land I now have. 1,200 freaking acres. It used to be a cattle ranch, but I sold the last few cows, steers, and horses to my new neighbors since I have no idea how to take care of them or what to do with them. He had already been taking care of them, so it just made sense to let him buy them. I want to raise some animals or plant something I can sell, but this is all so new to me. I have no clue how to be a rancher. If you have any ideas on what I could use the land for, I'm all ears. Oh, I forgot to mention, I have a new friend. He's a white-tailed prairie dog that comes and hangs out on my back porch. After the third day of him showing up, I named him Fred. I had to take a picture of him with my phone to find out what in the world he was because, needless to say, we didn't have prairie dogs back east. The guy who owns the feed store, whose name is Ducky, if you can believe that, gave me a quick education on them. Thankfully, they're herbivores. I bought some seeds that Ducky said I could leave out for Fred. I could also give him some vegetables. From what I'm told, he probably has a family somewhere nearby, so I'm sure he's sharing the meals with them. Maybe one of these days I'll follow him and see where he lives. Anyway, I'm obviously rambling on about nothing, and I'm sure you have lots to do. If you want to write back, that's great, but I'll understand if you don't. In the meantime, thank you again for your service, and I hope you're back with your loved ones soon. Sincerely, Willow, Wannabe Rancher. P.S. I know it would be easier to exchange email addresses to write back and forth, but if you don't mind, I kind of like writing letters and mailing them the old fashioned way. We did that when we adopted a soldier in my fourth grade class, and it was so exciting when the teacher announced we had a letter from him each month. June 15th. Dear Wannabe, I love your name, but got a kick out of Wannabe. LOL. Getting your letter did what you'd hoped it would. It brightened my day, and I don't mind writing snail mail. You're right. It is more exciting to receive a handwritten letter as opposed to an email. Getting letters here is like Christmas morning for us. A lot of the guys I know carry them around while on missions, so they always have that connection to their families. The Army is known for its hurry up and wait attitude, so having letters to reread during downtime is a treat. My name is Nathan. I'm 33 years old, and I grew up in a small town in Colorado that sounds a lot like where you're living now. There are good and bad things about small towns. One of the good things is neighbors help out neighbors without batting an eye. One of the bad things, though, is the gossip. The minute you let anyone know a secret there, it'll be running through the rumor mill faster than you can say, "Don't tell anyone." You didn't say you inherited the ranch. You didn't say who you inherited the ranch from, but I assume that means someone close to you passed away and left it to you in their will. I'm sorry for your loss. It sounds like you've done a lot of work on the place already and have plenty more to do. With 1,200 acres there are a few animals you can raise other than cattle. Hogs and sheep come to mind. The hogs and lambs, baby sheep, would need to be slaughtered for their meat. And I'm not sure if you're up to doing that. I know I wouldn't be. But sheep and llama farms are known for their wool and fiber. You don't have to kill the animals to get it. Either way, you'd have to research what you would need in order to raise any of those animals. You'll also need to hire people to work for you to maintain the herd, since it's not as simple as just giving them food and water. As for crops, there are a few options for you there too. I looked it up, thank you, Google, and it seems like hay, barley, wheat, beans, and corn are the main crops grown in Wyoming. Again, you'll have to research them and will likely need to hire at least a few people to help you throughout the different seasons. Speaking of Wyoming, isn't it beautiful there? I was only there once, the summer between my junior and senior years in high school. My friend's parents took us and another friend camping in Glendale State Park. I'm not sure how close that is to you, but it's gorgeous. If you get a chance, you should visit it. That was a great trip. Even though his parents were with us, they were cool and we had an amazing time. How are the chickens doing? Glad to hear you didn't get a rooster since you don't need one yet. Those damn things wake you up at the ass crack of dawn. Not to mention, they can be mean little bastards sometimes. Actually, most of the times. I have blood on my foot from my rooster outside. What tattoos do you have? I have two: a Celtic cross above my left shoulder blade, and a Celtic knot over my heart. I'm Irish, by the way. Tell me about the town you live in now. Does it have a hamburger joint on the edge of town that has the greasiest yet most delicious burgers and fries? Oh, and don't forget a chocolate shake. How about a town square with a gazebo? A movie theater that only shows one movie at a time, or is there a drive-in nearby? If it's like the small town I grew up in, you'll probably be having a parade and or a carnival coming up on the 4th of July weekend. I'd love to see pictures of it if you take any. When I was growing up, I couldn't wait to be old enough to move to a city, or at least a much bigger town. But now there's so much I miss about living in a small town. I guess your perception of things changes as you get older. Well, I'm heading over to the mess hall to grab some dinner. Hope to hear from you again soon. Tell Fred I said hello. Sincerely, Nathan, Pen Pal Extraordinaire. Chapter 5, June 29th. Dear, dear PP Extraordinaire, I like your name too, but the nickname gave me the giggles. Thank you for writing back. I was so excited to see a handwritten envelope in my mailbox. Yours has the honor of being the first one I've ever received at this address. Congratulations, you win. Two thumbs up and a huge smile. Sorry it couldn't be more, LOL. I wanted to respond the other day right after I got your letter, but I've been so exhausted every night after working all day. I didn't have the energy to do more than fall asleep right after dinner. I'm proud to say I've become an expert, sort of, on hammers, nails, screwdrivers, and drills. I also have a new personal library of how to books for plumbing, electrical, woodworking, tile, general home improvements, and more. A lot of it is gibberish to me, but at least there are a bunch of things I can do now instead of paying someone to do them for me. My chickens have settled in, and last Saturday morning I got to eat my very first fresh from the chicken coop egg. I don't know if I'm imagining things, but damn, those things are better than any other egg I've ever had. Not to mention the yolk is such a dark yellow. I always figured an egg was an egg, but apparently not. Also learned that I don't have to refrigerate them as long as I don't wash them after I collect them. That's taken a lot longer to get used to. I keep thinking I'm going to get salmonella if I don't put them in the fridge. How's the food where you are? Now, I've heard about those MREs, and I hope you're not living on those. They sound pretty nasty. On the any soldier site, it said that care packages are always welcome. I was thinking of putting something together for you. Any requests? I know chocolate is a no go because it melts all over everything. But is there anything special you need or a craving that I could send you? It is beautiful here, and once I get a printer for my computer on my next trip to Walmart, I'll send you some pictures. In the meantime, I'll do my best to describe it, and you'll just have to use your imagination. I'm sitting on the side porch swing I hung yesterday. The chains creak a little as I rock. I'll have to remember to put some WD-40 on them tomorrow. Right now, the sun is setting, and the colors are like something out of a dream. Pinks and reds mixed with oranges and just a hint of purple above the hills. There's a breeze blowing through the fields, rustling the tall grasses against each other. The air smells fresh and sweet, like flowers, grass, and dirt. It was creepy when I first moved here, but I've gotten used to different noises. The frogs and crickets are loud tonight, and lightning bugs are blinking all around through the fields by the barn. Excuse me, y'all. It's beautiful and serene. I can't see I can't see another house or building other than my own. I've never known peace like I feel here. The chickens were clucking and carrying on earlier, but they're in bed now that it's dark outside. I need to make sure the coop is locked up once I finish writing this so no predators can get at them. Nights like this make me feel maudlin. I have a hard time with that word for some reason. Maudlin and restless. I've been alone a long time, and it normally doesn't bother me. I enjoy my own company. Tonight, though, I wish there was someone I could sit with on the swing and just enjoy each other's companionship. I know I didn't mention who I inherited the ranch from in my first letter because I'm still trying to come to terms with it. I never knew my father, but he still left me everything he had. My mother rarely talked about him, and only if I asked. Even when she did, there never were any details, not even his name. All she would tell me was they weren't meant to be, and he left before I was born. She was 16 when she had me, and I know now he was 22 at the time. Despite their age difference, I did get the impression she'd been in love with him, and having me was something she never would have changed. Mom always made sure I knew I was loved and wanted. She's been gone a few years now, so I can't even go to her for more information. Although I'm not sure she would have given it to me, even with what I know now. Growing up, I tried to imagine what he looked like and what his personality was like. I wondered if he knew about me or if he didn't know my mom was pregnant when he left. Again, she was never forthcoming with details and always changed the subject when I asked about him. Hell, I only found out his name a few weeks ago when his lawyer called me to say my biological father had passed away and left me his ranch. Now I know his name, Jason Hillcrest, and what he looked like from his driver's license. It was in his wallet that I found in his bedroom. I think I have his eyes. I'm hoping there are other pictures of him in the trunks and boxes I still have to go through, and some information on his family. Maybe I'll find something about his parents and if he had any siblings, although his lawyer said I was the only living heir. The only other thing I've discovered about him so far is that he wasn't the nicest guy in the world. The words I've heard a few times to describe him since I've gotten here were cranky, eccentric, and curmudgeon. I actually had to look up the last one since I've never heard anyone called that before. Thankfully, a few people I've met have determined I fell far enough away from the paternal family tree to not have the same personality as him. Some other people in town still look at me funny, probably because the tattoos and my nose stud, but others have started to warm up to me. So, what about your family? Are your parents alive? Do you have any siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, etc.? I know I told you I had pink hair. It's actually just the tips of my spiked hair, but I'm letting it grow out. I wasn't it wasn't intentional at first, but there's only one hairdressing shop in town and it's owned by one of the people who hasn't taken a liking to me yet. When I met her at the feed store, she turned her nose up at me. I'm afraid if I ask her to color or cut my hair, it'll be a disaster. Maybe on my next trip to Walmart, 40 minutes away, I'll stop at their hair salon and get a trim. You ask about my tattoos? I have a full sleeve on my right arm that has a bunch of things in it. I'd describe them for you, but honestly, seeing them would be easier. I have ink from my right wrist up my arm and shoulder and across my upper chest and collarbone area. A lot of it is stuff that has special meaning to me or random things from Philly that I love. I even have a small cheesesteak tattooed on the inside of my forearm. LOL. I know, weird, right? But if you're a Philly native, cheesesteaks are like a staple in your diet. I can't imagine you were able to ever to get I can't imagine you were able to ever get a real cheesesteak in Colorado. Your question about this town were dead on. There's a hamburger joint at a block in from the edge of the main drag, which doesn't have a single traffic light on it. A gazebo in the middle of the town square, and a theater that only shows one movie at a time. Apparently, Wednesdays is when they show classic films. This week's oldie is Casablanca. The closest drive-in is about 25 minutes away, so still doable. I've never gone to a drive-in, but I don't think I want to go by myself. That would be just too pathetic. I've made a few acquaintances here, but I'm not close enough to anyone yet to say we're friends. My neighbor, Jeremiah, who bought the cattle and horses from me, has been really nice and helpful. He's about 40 years old and single. Not that I'm interested in dating him or anyone else I've met so far, but I can see us becoming good friends. There will be a parade and a barbecue in the town square. No big carnival, but there will be some games and stuff this coming weekend for July 4th. I'm sure I'll be meeting more of the townspeople then. Well, I'm going to wrap things up for now. I hope you're safe and that this letter brings you a measure of joy. Sincerely, Willow, Wannabe Rancher. P.S. Fred says hello and that his new favorite snack is carrot tops. How you guys liking it so far? Chapter 6. Staff Sergeant Nathan Casey tucked Willow's letter into his shirt pocket, keeping it safe against his chest, before slipping on his body armor and helmet. She may never know, but her letters were saving his sanity. Days of training, hauling gear, unbearable heat, and the constant grit of dust were wearing him down. And he wasn't the only one ready to get out of this hellhole. His buddies were itching to get back home too. When their unit's mail clerk had come around 2 months ago, he hadn't even looked up, knowing there wouldn't be anything for him. Much to his surprise, though, he had been handed an envelope addressed to any soldier. He knew about the program, of course, but he had never been picked to receive a letter. He hadn't realized until then how much mail from anyone, even a stranger, would make him feel. As he had read the words Willow had written, he had felt an instant connection to her that caught him off guard. He had then counted the days until he might hear from her again. It took 7 to 10 days for her to get his letters via snail mail, and then another 7 to 10 for them to get one back to her from her. 2 to 3 weeks between her letters, and that was if she wrote him back right away. Since he didn't get any personal mail from anyone else in the States anymore, he savored every word she'd written, reading the letters over and over again. Checking the time, he temporarily pushed Willow out of his mind and finished getting dressed before heading out for breakfast. Sorry. Why couldn't you respond to anyone? Goofus. Samantha. Ori is Nina. You probably dealt with her when she was asking you all those questions and trying to beg stuff from you. So that would be who she is. Checking the time, he temporarily pushed Willow out of his mind and finished getting dressed before heading out for breakfast. Slinging his weapon over his shoulder, he locked his door behind himself and prepared for yet another day in this god-forsaken country. He had had enough of the sand, the dust, and the high temperatures, not to mention the blood. He didn't even jump anymore when he heard a distant explosion. They had to be a lot closer to get a reaction out of anyone who'd been here more over a month or two. Hueys flew overhead, the vibration from their rotors shaking the ground beneath his worn boots as he headed to the mess hall to grab some breakfast. The stink of smoke from the burn pits and the thick, acrid stench of diesel exhaust hung in the air around him, the heat baking the smell into everything. His mind briefly flashed to a sunset-lit porch and a swing. Entering the mess hall, he got in line, quickly loaded up a tray, then located an empty seat at a table with a few of his buddies. Running late, he wolfed down the food as fast as he could force himself, washing it all down with a cup of coffee, strong enough to burn a hole in his gut. The faster you ate, the less you tasted it. That was his theory, anyway. Willow had asked for care package ideas, and he was already compiling a mental list. Beef jerky and a chew being right at the top. He wasn't a smoker, but chew helped keep everyone awake on long shifts. As disgusting as it was another tool they all used. Nathan would probably never touch the stuff again after his discharge. After he reported for duty at his station, he struggled to pay attention, which was a problem he had never had before. Being distracted while on duty was dangerous for him, and more importantly, everyone around him. Thankfully, his buddies didn't notice, or he'd never hear the end of it. He thought ahead to what life would be like once he was no longer in the army. The only thing he was truly going to miss was the tight knit brotherhood he had with the men of his unit, even though they busted each other's balls at every available opportunity. The humor got them through the long days and nights. Why was he so messed up over her letters? He kept replaying her words in his head, thinking of what he was going to write back. A broken record of "I should tell Willow" or "I wonder what Willow would think about" was on a near constant loop in his head. It had only been 2 letters, which shouldn't be a big deal at all, even considering the fact he never got personal mail anymore while deployed. But for some strange reason, it was a big deal to him. After work, which included a rocket attack and a small engagement with the enemy, followed by a debriefing and reports, he decided to spend some extra time in the gym, hoping to sort through his feelings. There wasn't much else to do over there anyway. Work, exercise, sleep, rinse, and repeat. Was that why he was so hung up on Willow? The novelty of something different in his routine? There was no room in his brain for thoughts of her when he was on duty. He needed to focus on his job. Fucking up could cost lives. If there was something between him and Willow, then he'd figure out his feelings for her when he got back to the States. He finished his workout, left the gym, and headed to the showers. After spending a few weeks under a tepid After spending a few minutes under a tepid shower of water with some soap, he only felt a bit cleaner than before because, let's face it, no one was ever really clean when they lived in a sandy desert. It was another long day in the books, and one less he had to spend there. Returning to his quarters, he unlocked the door to the room he shared with Zach Ramsey and set his weapon down with a heavy sigh. His boots immediately followed. He stretched out on his narrow bed and grabbed his notepad and pen. Riding back to Willow would take his mind off this place for a while. When he first joined the Army 14 years ago, he'd been full of hope, wanting to make a difference in the world. He knew that he'd been a pipe dream. He knew that had been a pipe dream now. Sure, his presence in Iraq made a difference to a degree, but he was tired. He was counting the days until his final deployment was over and he could start over again as a civilian in the States. July 12th. Dear Wannabe. Oh, yeah, let's do my band voice. Dear Wannabe, today was a long day, but now I'm sitting in my rack trying to ignore the usual sounds of the bass and instead pretending I can hear those crickets and frogs you mentioned. Over here, it's engines, shoutings, and explosions. You speak of the peace you feel in Wyoming, and I'm not ashamed to say I crave it for myself. This is my last deployment. Once it's over, I'm 68 more days, but in 68 more days, but who's counting? I'll be done. I didn't re-up. Then it'll be a few more months before I process out. After that, I'll be a free man. Like you, I want to start over somewhere new, but I'm not sure where or what I want to do. I can operate weapons that I'm sure you've only ever seen on TV, but my skills as a civilian are limited. I guess I'll just have to find my way, same as you are. If you can, if you can, I can, right? That's what I'm going to go with anyway. I really appreciate the offer of a care package. While the Army provides the basics, there are a lot of things we need that we can't get here. Beef jerky would be amazing. Not only is it a perfect snack, but I can trade it if I need to. Same with chew and smokes. Coffee is another commodity in high demand. That, however, I wouldn't be trading, lol. Sunflower seeds and similar snacks are good. I can carry them with me and they don't spoil or take up too much space. Anything you can send would be appreciated. Keep a tally and I'll pay you back when I'm back in the States. You asked me about the food here. No, it's not MREs, but honestly, it's not much better than them. For dinner tonight, I'll probably have a choice of meatloaf with cheese sauce and corn, or spaghetti and chicken gravy. The foreign cookies the company hired, the foreign cooks, I got cookies on the brain. I love cookies. The foreign cooks the Army hires have no damn clue what sides go with which dishes. I'm still trying to decide which is the lesser of two evils. I'm happy to hear your chickens have settled in and you're getting your first eggs. How's the house coming along? Did you get a garden planted? I'd give anything to have some cherry tomatoes fresh off the vine right about now. That story about your father was surprising. I can't imagine what it felt like to get a call that you'd inherited a ranch from someone you never knew, especially your biological father. I'm glad some of the people there aren't holding his surly disposition against you. Just from your letters, I can tell you're nothing like him. I hope you find answers to some of the questions I know you have about him in the boxes you still have to go through. If you want to talk about your findings, I can be your sounding board. Sorry, this letter is a little shorter than the last one. I won't go into detail, but today was a hard one. I keep rereading your letters, and they remind me of what's waiting for me when I get home. Not to imply that it's you, but the freedom and simple day to day life you're enjoying. is keeping me focused on staying safe and getting home in one piece. I hope you don't think this too forward of me, but I'm including a picture of myself. Just thought you might want to put a face to your pen pal extraordinaire. Sincerely, Nathan, pen pal extraordinaire. P.S. Tell Fred hello and give him some celery tops from me. I bet he'd like those too. P.S.S. I know you asked some questions that I didn't answer this time. I will when I write again. Didn't want you to think I didn't want to answer them. PSSS. Hope you had a blast at the parade and barbecue and took lots of pictures. Chapter 7. Okay, this will probably be my last chapter. July 27th. Dear PP Extraordinaire, I hope this care package gets to you okay. I included everything you wrote about in your last letter, plus added a few things that Cody Moore suggested. He's a nice 17-year-old kid who works in the grocery store here and loves my sleeve. His cousin is in the Marines and is deployed right now, too. Cody gave me a list of things his mother and aunt send over every month. Sorry to hear you were having a bad day the last time you wrote. I guess you tend to have a lot of them where you are. I hope you've had some better days since then, and I don't blame you for wanting this to be your last deployment. I picked up a 35mm camera I've always wanted and a printer on my latest trip to Walmart and printed out some photos of the parade and barbecue to enclose in the package. I also added some pictures of my property, the house, chickens, Fred, and the amazing sunset we had the other night. I might have gotten a little snapshot crazy. I even put a photo of me since you sent me one of you. I shouldn't tell you this, but I took about 2 dozen selfies before I found one that I liked enough to send you. As you can see, I still have some pink in my hair, but it's growing out. I can't remember the last time it was down to my shoulders. There's also close-up pictures of my sleeve and the tattoos that covers my right shoulder. Speaking of the parade and barbecue, I had a great time. It definitely had the small town feel to it that I've seen in the movies. I hate to admit I'm a sucker for the Hallmark Channel. The marchers included the bands from 2 high schools in the county, the volunteer fire department and ambulance corps, a search and rescue unit, a bunch of horses, some bagpipers, Little League baseball players, 4-H club, and the Boy and Girl Scouts. I sent you pictures of a lot of the different groups. I thought of you when the veterans from the local American Legion marched by. At the barbecue, there was a band playing in the gazebo in the town square. There were food contests for the best chili, pulled pork, homemade pies, hot wings, jams, and more. I was almost completely stuffed before the pigs cooked on spits were ready to be served. That was a that was a little gross to see for the first time, but it was the best damn ham I've ever had in my life after I got up the nerve to try it. I also got a kick out of the 4-H club's competition for best cow, chicken, and pig, not the ones on the spits. Too bad I'm too old to enter one of my chickens to win a blue ribbon. You had to be under 16. My neighbor, Jeremiah, introduced me to some people, most of whom are all from their late 20s to mid 40s. One of them, Maddie, who's my age, invited me to a wine and Jenga girls' night at her house this weekend. That should be an interesting combo. The others were all really nice too, even though some other people in town still gave me the evil eye. I can't figure out if it's because of who my father was or if it's because I'm an outsider with pink hair tattoos and a tiny nose stub. Either way, I'm not going to let them bother me. I have a new addition to the ranch since I wrote you last. A kitten I've named Ethel. I figured that was a good name since my dog is named Fred. My dog, like prairie dog. Someone was giving away their kittens when I went to the store the other day, and this little gray one wormed her way into my heart. Her picture is included too. Did I mention I got a little crazy with a new camera? I've never had a cat before, or a dog for that matter, but always wanted one. Jeremiah said it's good to have one here because she'll keep the field mice and other rodents away. Surprisingly, or maybe not, Fred doesn't seem to be afraid of her. There was a little hesitancy when they first met on the back porch, but now they seem to be fine with each other. Ethel wants to play, but Fred is more interested in getting his daily seeds in his cheeks to carry them back to his family. Oh, and I finally followed him to his home, and I counted 10 others in his little group of, or coterie, as it's called. Thank you again, Google. They didn't seem as trusting as Fred, so I stayed far enough away so I wouldn't scare them. You'll be happy to hear I started a garden thanks to your question. I'm growing green beans, zucchini, cherry tomatoes, carrots, and green peppers. I didn't go crazy planting a huge amount of each one since it's only me here and it was a little late in the season to start them. Next year, I'll start earlier. I've done a lot of research on animals for the ranch, and I think I'm going to raise alpacas. There's an alpaca ranch about an hour from me, and I emailed them through their website and asked if I could go visit and talk to them about it. They were really nice, and I have an appointment with them set up for next week. I'll tell you all about it in my next letter. Oh, one more update, and then I'll let you go. I start horseback riding lessons next week, too. One of the women I met at the barbecue has a horse ranch and gives lessons. I figure if I'm going to be a rancher, I need to learn to ride a horse, right? Do you know how to ride one? Well, I guess that catches you up on everything happening in Wyoming. Looking forward to your next letter. I'm counting the days until you're back on U.S. soil. Stay safe. Yours truly, Wannabe. P.S. I'm not keeping any sort of tally, Nathan. The things I sent are a gift. Accept it with good grace. I don't want to hear another word about you paying me back. As far as I'm concerned, we're square. You're fighting for our country, for our freedoms, and the safety of the men beside you. A box of goodies is the least I can do. Understand? Willow tucked the letter to Nathan into its envelope before sealing it inside the care package she had all set to go with the mail in the morning. Sitting at her desk by the window in her bedroom, she looked out over the fields. The blinking glow of lightning bugs appeared at dusk as dusk settled in even greater numbers than there'd been a month ago. Fall would be approaching before she knew it, though, and she'd been warned that winter came early there, and seemingly all at once. The picture Nathan had sent her was propped against the growing stack of letters from him. Picking it up, she studied it closer, and she had already done hundreds of times. If she wasn't careful, the edges were going to start to wear. He was handsome, incredibly so. It was a photo of him from the knees up, but still close enough she could make out his facial features. Those not hidden by his helmet, anyway. He wore camo and cradled some kind of rifle in his arms. A thigh holster held another gun. She didn't know much about guns, including how to tell one caliber weapon from another. But Jeremiah was taking her shooting soon, deeming it a basic skill she needed to have, which she agreed with. While she was nervous, he was obviously very comfortable with them, considering he often openly carried a handgun on his right hip, which was legal in Wyoming. In the photo, Nathan was standing between a pair of Humvees, which gave her an idea of how tall he was. Even under his layers of clothing and armor, his strong build was apparent. A sharp jaw was lightly dusted with dark stubble. She was guessing his hair was equally dark, but none showed from under his helmet. Did he keep it buzzed short or shaved completely? She wanted to ask him to send her a more casual picture, one where he wore civilian clothes and looked relaxed, not so tense and gruff. His eyes were what grabbed her attention the most. His gaze was piercing, boring into hers, inanimate, even through the inanimate photograph. She couldn't make out their color. It was hard to admit it to herself, but she kept dreaming about him. His big, calloused hands cradling her face as he devoured her mouth. He wasn't smiling in the photo, but even in its indifferent state, his mouth looked sexy as hell. Would he kiss her roughly and hard, or soft and sweet? Or a bit of both? Light bites and slow drags of his tongue along her lips. Her face heated at the thought. She patted her cheeks, grateful there was no one around to see her blushing like a schoolgirl fantasizing about a cute boy in her class. Though there was nothing boyish about Nathan, not in his posture, his profession, or his attitude, he was all man. She shivered. They didn't have men like him in Philly. That was for damn sure. At least not that she'd ever run into. These corn-fed Midwest boys were something special. She could kick herself for sending so many pictures. The box was already sealed, but she wasn't going to waste the tape by reopening it now. Would he like them? Was she being too forward, sending shots of her tattoos the way she did? What if he thought she was weird and stopped writing her? Why did that thought sink a stone of disappointment into her belly? She knew she'd be spending the next couple of weeks tied in knots of nerves waiting for his reaction. Don't be an idiot. He's writing you because no one else does. He writes back for something to do, not because he has any sort of feelings for you. No doubt a man like him has women throwing themselves at him every chance they can get. Sure, he's a nice guy and sweet and seems to care, but people are very different on paper than they are in person. And now you're talking to yourself like a lunatic. Shaking her head, she tried to force her thoughts to her upcoming writing lesson and the renovation she was still dealing with. Nothing good could come from pining after Nathan. He was a half a world away, and even when he was back on U.S. soil, she'd probably never hear from him again. She highly doubted he would want anything to do with her in a romantic way. Her ex-husband certainly had preferred the company of other women to her. Logically, she knew that wasn't her fault, but doubts and insecurities still lingered. Speaking of her ex-husband, her phone vibrated, showing yet another incoming call from a Philadelphia area code. She let it go to voicemail, knowing it was probably him again. He'd been trying to get in touch with her for the past week, calling from different numbers, which she blocked without remorse. When the phone signaled the person had left a voicemail, she raised it to her ear and listened to the message just in case it wasn't him. Willow, baby, it's Andrew. Is it really true? Did you inherit a ranch in Wyoming? I've been trying to get a hold of you. When you wouldn't answer your phone or call me back, I went to your apartment and your landlady said you'd moved out. She had this address for some hick town called Antelope Rock to forward your mail and security deposit to. Where the fuck is that? Call me back, please, baby. I miss you. Rolling her eyes, she deleted the message, blocked the number, and made a mental note to call her former landlady tomorrow and remind her not to give her personal information out to anyone. Shuddering, she wished she could block Andrew from her life as easily as she did his number. But like a swarm of mosquitoes, he kept bugging the hell out of her. Marrying that man had been such a huge damn mistake. Granted, he hadn't turned into an asshole until after they'd been married a few months, So it wasn't like she had any warning things would go downhill so fast. Andrew had done a good job of hiding his gambling and recreational drug use until after Willow had said, I do. She'd felt like such a fool when she finally found out. She hadn't dated since her divorce, beyond meeting someone for drinks a few times, being too gun shy to commit to anything more since the fiasco that'd been Hurricane Andrew. None of those men had ever made it past her front door. And now that she thought about it, she realized she hadn't even been kissed in years. How long did one have to go without sex to be an honorary virgin? Even as she prepared for bed and turned off the light, her mind kept unwillingly shifting back to Nathan. He was already beginning to haunt her dreams, and now it seemed he was going to start in her waking thoughts as well. She was determined to keep her romantic notions to herself, though, chalking them up to going too long without sex and nothing more. Of course, the first guy in years that treated her with respect and care was going to lead to a crush. It was only normal, right? Oh, perfect timing. Alrighty. So, what all y'all think? Catch up on some of these. Oh my goodness. Jackie made it. Hey, Miss Jen. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. JB, thank you for letting me read. Well, thank you, Samantha. It's all Georgia. Sorry. Uh, Nina, you're going to have to pre order the book, darling. Whew. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. I'm going to have to start back at the beginning. I'm going to read this one. It's next on my list. That's the bad thing about reading all this stuff is you just constantly, it just adds to your TBR list when I read these like this. Because it's like, no, I want to finish them. Really? And how, all right, when does it come out? I know she said it was on pre order, so when is it going to be available to buy? And have you finished the next one in the series, or are you about finished with the next one in the series? May 27th. So next week, y'all. Next week. Pre order it now, and it'll be dropped right into your Kindle account next week. So go do that. You're working on it. Okay. I've got to where I get really frustrated because, like, I'll read this book and then I got to wait. And I am not a patient person. I used to be, but the older I get, the less patience I have. So I've got to where I'll see a book and I'll make sure all the series are out and then I'll just binge them. Kind of like people do with Netflix, which I still cannot get into Netflix, y'all, unless it's just a movie I just seriously want to get. But these shows, I can't get into them. But I'm not a big TV person either. And so I will binge read. If it takes me 3 months to do it, I will binge read every book in the series. So, yay! Yay. All right. So, those of you that enjoyed listening to this tonight, if you would like to come back tomorrow night, I will be reading Lucille Yates' The Witch's Compliment, I think is what it's called. I got part of it here. It's not all there. It's kind of cut off. So let me see. The Witch's Compliments. And so it will be a PNR, which are always fun to read. Alrighty, so yes, Wannabe is a gonna be. This one that I'm reading now, it's a short book. I should have it read by the end of the week. I only get to read at night mostly after I go to bed. So after the baseball game goes off, and then I will start finishing up Wannabe. Yay! I have it finished by this weekend. By the end of the weekend. Yay! All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. I enjoyed having you guys here. And come back anytime. I'm here every Wednesday and Thursday night. Occasionally, I might have to do a Tuesday night and swap one of those out if something comes up in my schedule, my personal schedule. But almost always, I'm here Wednesday and Thursday night. So come back and listen in and enjoy. Well, this is what I do. This is what I love doing. I love teasing you guys with these books. So let's help out the indie authors and getting their books out there, and let's get to show and road. And please feel free to share my video, any of my videos. Please feel free to share. I don't mind at all. So thank you and have a good night and happy reading.